Now, in 2021, you expanded your practice by purchasing another law firm, the Keefe Disability Law Firm, which is located in the Boston metro area. Thanks to you, we represented you in this transaction, Forney Legal Services. Why did you decide to purchase another law firm?
Great question. I had opened my practice in 2014, and although I was growing steadily every year, I was finding it difficult to grow at a pace that I was really striving for. And I thought, and I think it's true, that one of the fastest ways to grow is to simply acquire another firm that does something very similar. And an opportunity like that came up, and it's really helpful in a lot of ways, because growing incrementally by increasing your marketing or finding different methods is very challenging. But when you can grow your practice overnight with a transaction like that, you gain a big portion of the market share that I was also hunting for all these years. And that's a big bonus right away.
You're growing and for me, exponentially instead of linearly, right?
Exactly, because the slow linear growth, although it was great, it just wasn't what I had really wanted. And so the other part about it that I found very attractive is that there were certain limitations in my own practice or weaknesses. And one of that was, in my instance, was my online presence and my website traffic and my organic growth from online leads. And the target that I went after, that firm, that just so happened to be its bread and butter. And so in that way, it was a nice way to combine the different types of skills and qualities that my firm had with another firm that kind of made up for some of my weaknesses. That was a big help. The other reason is, growing incrementally, in your own practice, it inevitably will take on more and more expenses. And in some ways, buying a practice, you can eventually and relatively quickly find ways to reduce costs, because you don't need two offices or you don't need two of everything anymore. And so a lot of those expenses that the target firm has evaporate very quickly. And so you can really reduce the costs while gaining a big portion of the market and quite a few clients. And then finally, I think for me, what was always daunting about the idea of purchasing a firm, it seems like it's impossible when you first think about it. But what you find out in the end is it doesn't necessarily require any money up front. And in fact, in my case, I was very lucky to have built my practice up through those first 7 years without any debt at all. And, by taking on some debt in the transaction without providing any cash up front, it wasn't as big of a risk as you might think. I was in a really good position to do that, and I could complete the transaction without really changing anything about my financial situation. And I found that to be very appealing.
Sure, that's great.